Alright, if you've seen my previous video on the Donaldson Prefilter install, you'll note that at the time I couldn't get it to work by putting it before the manufacturer's filter due to the height difference. So I actually installed it as a post filter. Now this is not optimal for how it works. So I spent a little bit of time. It was frustrating me. So I thought about it and I actually worked out how to get it to work as a pre-filter. I simply moved the factory filter to the location I had the Donaldson and moved the Donaldson to the factory filter location. It did require me to make a few little adjustments to the brackets, but I worked through those. Extra things you're going to need that the Donaldson kit did not have is you'll need two right angle tails to replace the straight through ones that Donaldson give you. They are 1/4 BSP with a 1/2 inch tail. You'll also need some 1/2 inch fuel hose, pipe clamps to suit. You'll also need a 5/16 joiner and a small bit of extra fuel hose, as the new position for the factory filter you can't quite reach it, and it is now in the correct alignment, being that it's a pre-filter. Okay, so you can see I've got my Donaldson fuel filter set up in here. It is meant to be a pre-filter, but in the current position it's in, when I tried to connect that first and then put it back up to there, I had some fuel issues with regards to fuel getting through, with the Donaldson being lower. So what I'm going to try to do is, it is a pre-filter, it's meant to be before the factory filter, so I'm going to try and rectify that by moving this to this location and this to this location. I don't know if it's going to work, but I will find out. So I'll take both off. I'll have to obviously drill some holes into this bracket and probably modify this one so that I can actually get it to fit in the factory location, but we'll see what happens. I'll work it out. I'll show you what I do as I go along. What I'm having to do is remove, obviously to get this off, remove the electrical components. To get it out I'll have to pop that one out too, just to disconnect it. Also disconnect the sensor over here. Take that off. There's an 8mm bolt to hold it in. Then I'll pop those out and we'll put those back on when I finish, because I'm going to have to drill a secondary hole in the bracket just behind here. Alright. Okay, so to change the mounting bracket for the Donaldson filter so it fits into where the original Mitsubishi filter fits, I've cut a small piece of galvanized steel. It's 40 by 3mm to match that. So I'm going to place that basically at the back of the Donaldson filter. How I'm going to attach it is, obviously one bolt will go through and tighten up on that part, and the other part I'm actually just going to put a small Tek screw in through the back of it just to hold it on, so that it actually holds on properly. That way I'll have the bolt hole through over here and the bolt hole through there, and they'll screw on and it'll hold on tight. Alright. So I'm going to use a 3mm drill bit. I'm going to drill a small pilot hole in to make it easier for the screw to get through. So we'll start with that. Alright. Now that we've got our 3mm hole drilled through, we'll put the screw in. Okay, as you can see, I've flathead Tek screwed it to the back. The next thing I'm going to do is drill through the larger hole here, and obviously I'm going to measure it against the bracket there and put another hole in through the steel to make sure it fits into the original bracket. Okay, so you can see I've now moved it so that the Donaldson filter is now acting in the position it should be. It's a pre-filter. I've got all the hoses connected up. So the top hose is a 3/8 hose. I had to use that because I didn't have the required parts. The brass bends there, it's 1/4" BSP into 1/2" on this side and into 3/8 on this side. So the inlet's slightly smaller, so later on I'm just going to change those out when I can actually get the parts to be all 1/2". Had to slightly extend this hose, so I had to get a joiner just so it would reach. Now that's moved over, but all the other electrics and wires and everything else is fitting in just fine. Car's running smoothly. Hopefully it should now work as it's supposed to.